flying. If he's not flying, he's flying.
The fact that he travels with an entourage, he doesn't travel alone. He travels with an entire battalion.
You see, today, we don't understand the team. We only understand the president. That's why everything is hitting on him.
Listening keenly.
12th July 2024, President William Ruto felt time had come for him to climb down and sack his entire cabinet, save for his deputy Rigathi Gachagua and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi.
The operations of government will continue uninterrupted under the guidance of principal secretaries.
Protesting young Kenyans had managed to storm and occupy Parliament. Police had shot dead quite a number of demonstrators, and his presidency was in a crisis.
In the past 2 years, we have seen people who've been in jail being appointed.
Almost 2 years since his inauguration, we look back at Ruto's presidency.
I, William Samoei Ruto,
he has been one of Kenya's most popular presidents on the international stage. Lauded as a leader of Africa's new generational leaders. He was elected in one of Kenya's most competitive presidential elections in history.
Uhuru anaenda nyumbani kwa sababu katiba inasema aende nyumbani. Nimemwambia tu rais, tafadhali my friend, wewe waachia mimi huyu mtu ya kitendawili.
Slightly beating his closest rival, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who had the backing of President Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto's former ally and boss.
The people of Kenya will prevail over the deep state. The people of Kenya will prevail over the system, and we are going to have a nation that leaves no Kenyan behind.
He had two things to do. Number one, start a new Kenya. The way he was saying, start a new Kenya. Anything that was done by Akina Uhuru, Akina Kibaki, Akina Moi, you did not need to have a script that looks like them. You needed a new script for Kenya. Honesty. Corruption must go completely.
Yet William Ruto has become Kenya's president to ever lose popularity within a very short time frame.
And he's become unpopular with the same group that he claims voted him in. When we're talking about young voters, when you're talking about hustlers, mama mbogas, those are the ones who are really upset with how he has managed the country.
This is somebody who managed to buy the love of the young people in his campaign, and then immediately he got into position, he forgot they exist. And they paid attention to that. So basically they are rising up to remind him that you promised us, you are one of us, you are a hustler like us.
And I want to tell this government, we gave you the entry, we are going to show you the exit. Mr. President, watch us.
Kenya experienced an unprecedented attack on its democracy.
On the night of Wednesday, 10th July 2024, William Arap Ruto could not sleep.
An otherwise legitimate expression.
Facing a civil uprising over increasing taxes, corruption and lack of accountability, his presidency was in terminal crisis. In the early hours of Thursday, 11th July 2024, he took out his notepad and methodically listed things he needed to do if his administration is to remain afloat. Kenyans were angry with his government, and hundreds of thousands had taken to the streets of major cities and towns. They were there protesting against Ruto's new finance bill 2024 that sought to increase taxes.
Taxes are high. My mom just died from cancer, and we can't keep raising taxes on cancer treatments. You had them raising taxes even on donations.
They called them punitive taxes. These scenes were to be known as the Genz Uprising, with dozens of deaths reported, hundreds of injuries, and arbitrary arrests and abductions. Things William Ruto and his administration had promised to do away with.
It is the reason why I asked Kinoti to resign and leave. Because he was involved in the exercise of politicizing the criminal justice system.
Is that sufficient?
Which is unacceptable to me. Which is unacceptable to me. So, and you can ask Mr. Amin. You can ask the new IG. He rarely receives a call from me on anything, because I want them to do their job. My friend, I have a job to do here. I wake up early, I sleep late.
Use of criminal justice system, we must as a government, and I'm sure we are working very hard to ensure that the systems work without interference. And we must remember that Kenyans are not where they were 20 years ago. We have very good records, history. As you said, this is history. History does not forget. It should make us better. We should learn from history and make sure that we handle Kenyans in a manner that they will feel their votes, those who voted for us and those who did not vote for us, that yes, this is the president that we need to emulate even going forward and make it better. I think he must operate, our president must operate from a better premises, because the things that he went through are things he can never wish, because he has sworn he can never wish even his worst enemy.
This protest had forced him to withdraw the finance bill, leaving him with a shortfall of over 300 billion Kenyan shillings, and the protesters wanted more. The public outcry over the finance bill and poor governance went on for weeks, with Ruto as the focal point. They wanted his entire cabinet gone, and for some, him too.
I have today, in line with the powers given to me by Article 1521 and 1525B of the Constitution and Sections 12 of the Office of the Attorney General's Act, decided to dismiss with immediate effect all the Cabinet Secretaries and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya.
But the public opinion of him had taken a big tumble. Protests had turned violent, with the police killing several. Protesters smelled blood.
This guy has taken everything away from us. Now we have nothing to live for sure. So right now we have nothing to lose.
It is sad when up to now we are talking of what we have lost from finance bill. But the people who need to pay finance, the things we wanted, are the ones in all the mess. Some have died, families are crying. And anyway, where in God's eyes does money come first? That's what Judas used to kill Jesus. Why are you keeping telling us about it? We don't want. It is us who will pay the debt anyway. In the end of the day, all Kenyans. But what we want is an empathy.
Ruto had increasingly detached himself from the ordinary people he had vowed to defend, protect, and uplift.
He promised people heaven. He overpromised
things. And I do not think he had an intention of meeting those promises. You know, we have become a country where, you know, politics is a game. Ukipata, umepata, and you start thinking of the next general election. Because even when you listen to him, when he's going around, when he stops in, you know, these places where he keeps stopping together with his deputy, are they talking about the issues that affect Mwananchi? No, they're talking about 2027, by the way. So I think the young people are also telling us, it's not just a matter of you've won the election, now uanze kutupanga tena.
I, Kithure Kindiki, being appointed a Cabinet Secretary of Kenya,
do swear that I will at all times be faithful.
Slightly less than 2 years ago, new members of the cabinet came to the House on the Hill, armed with revolutionary fervor. They said it wasn't going to be business as usual.
I am a very proud Kenyan this morning that now I have a team. For the last couple of weeks, my deputy and I have been struggling in offices late into the night. Now we have a team, and your celebrations will be very short-lived because I think you will be leaving your offices late. So the spouses, kidogo mtatuvumilia. Hawa watu pengine itabidi walale ofisini for the next couple of months until we have our plan in place.
They displayed the demeanor and made statements that made them appear unorthodox.
And the discipline that he had in our campaigns, the discipline he has in office now as a president, and I believe that given time, we will see the results of that discipline. You cannot put that kind of energy and hard work for nothing. It has to amount to something. And for us, I am really, really lucky to have been to be part of his team.
We must reject impunity completely and make Kenyans comfortable. Of course, we must be very sensitive to Kenyans' situation at the moment, the economic situation of the country. The lifestyle is a problem. The living standards are being affected by the economic living costs. Everybody is complaining. Definitely, it's a lot of work that we need to do, and therefore we must be extremely sensitive to how we handle the situation so that Kenyans can work with us, understanding that we can only do this for now, but we have put in place systems like, you know, bringing fertilizer down so that we can have better production, making sure that the teachers are paid on time, we have enough numbers of teachers, relieve the parents of the burden by making the education system more friendly and, you know, access to funding.
The glory days had taken too long. Ruto's government had taken too long to realize that Kenyans were keenly watching every single step they made.
I think also it's the fact that his team or his administration has had this sense of being very arrogant. There are just too many images, videos of them just not caring at all, almost detached from people and the pulse of the public, and not reading the room. They seem to struggle with identifying what people are going through and having a sense of emotional intelligence. They seem to lack emotional intelligence together. And I think that has even sparked even of more outrage. And then the amount of promises that people are not quite seeing coming to fruition.
You feel that the president made a lot of promises during the campaigns?
Too many promises. Even, you know, as an organization, we try and track some of those promises. And you know, they were just even coming in. Even after he was voted in, he would still continue to make promises almost every other day, to the point where you can't even keep up.
On the night of September 13th, 2022, inside William Ruto's private world, reality began to sink in. From a young man who had left his rural village in Uasin Gishu County for the pursuit of university education in the capital city. His reflection surrounded his total transformation to become the 5th president of Kenya. Few weeks earlier, he had been an embattled deputy president at loggerheads with his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Anakuwa amri jeshi mkuu wa majeshi yote ya ulinzi ya Kenya.
On the day of inauguration, Ruto appeared in every part, a man who understood his assignment. He looked like a man who knew the amount of weight he had taken upon his shoulders.
Of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces.
But even as he reflected on what was going to be his new normal, he had no idea the difficult task that lay ahead. The next few days will prove it.
I can tell you, Eno, because I know this and we have said so to Kenyans, and the president has communicated. This country was run down. The country coffers were raided. There is no money. We are working with the money we are making and collecting from Kenyans. So it's going to be painful. This is not what we had expected because it's a crime. It's criminal to raid the country to the point that it is hard to mouth. It should never be done, and I'm hoping that we are going to work towards putting better systems, including reporting system, monitoring systems that can bring alert to Kenyans if we went that route.
The casket of bad news began with the economy. The rate of unemployment had risen to a record high. The high cost of living was choking many, and the debt burden was becoming heavier. All eyes were on William Ruto to change things. After all, he had promised to do so during the presidential campaigns.
We are all victims of an economic management system gone rogue on us. But don't despair. It is times like this that we must suspend our fear of the unknown, the predictions of Armageddon. It is time to have the courage to say no to anything that threatens our humanity, civility, and decency. We may suffer today, but never lose sight of remaining Kenyan and correcting the wrongs. In any case, Vindu Vichenjanga.
We can say it's his campaign messaging that is basically coming back to bite him. And if you've been following on social media, what young people have been doing is to play speeches that he was making during campaign and then juxtapose those speeches with these decisions that he's making as a president.
To address the looming financial crisis, the president will turn to the United States. He wanted to deal with the growing debt burden. The IMF had already advised him not to initiate any new infrastructural project that would attract more debt.
IMF, for instance, recommends that the GDP, even when it comes to debt, it cannot pass 55%. As a country, we're at 68%. So we need to ask the questions, how have we passed the 55% mark? This is the recommendation that you have given, but we have passed it. And how do you continue to give resource to a country that you're seeing is struggling with payment? So even you, in your own chama with your boys, for instance, if someone borrows money from you and they say they want a top-up, you measure whether you're going to give that top-up on the repayment that they have given. And if they're not meeting it, why would you give that person more money? In your own chama, you would not do that. So why are these agencies...
Unless you have to auction them.
You see? Yeah, and then now the bigger question becomes, I mean, what have they put on the table? You know, if they don't, what is the collateral here.
These people need to tell us when they take the money, where does the money go? Where does the money go? We need to be told.
The president did not just freeze new projects. He halted even those that were in the pipeline. Quite a number of Kenyans who had been absorbed by this project found themselves unemployed and on the streets.
There's even an oncology center, a referral hospital that was supposed to be built in Nyeri, and it is stopped. It was actually supposed to be within the Dedan Kimathi University. That is one of the examples I can give you.
The IMF and the World Bank would ask William Ruto for one more thing. The two West-leaning global financial bodies wanted Kenya to reduce its reliance on external borrowing and significantly cut its debt burden. Ruto's government would slash subsidies that had been placed on essentials like fuel while raising taxes. The housing levy was introduced, and NHIF and NSSF contributions were increased. The cost of living was now weighing down the ordinary Kenyan.
And I can tell you, they are waiting for us to default. You default, you are blacklisted. You are a failed state. I think that we have no much choice. It's a stone and a hard rock. So we have to then let Kenyans know that this is it. But once things improve, we can always alter or change this particular taxation.
The increased taxes and the high cost of living fueled public anger. But as Kenyans were being yoked by the high cost of living, the country's top executives were spending billions on unnecessary expenditure. The Controller of Budget report on the 3rd of June 2024 indicated that Ruto's travel expenditure in the first 9 months of the year 2023-2024 hit 18.18 billion Kenyan shillings. Margaret Nyakango raised eyebrows over foreign travel expenditure, which grew to over 5 billion Kenyan shillings, warning the Treasury to stick to the policy on travel expenditure. My name is Enoch Sikolia, and I am the Kenyan historian.